Kia ora tātou, ko Joe Trenda Takawingwa, ko Ngāti Awa Takawiwi. Today, I'm here to talk to you about some of the misinformation that Billy Te Kahika is talking about different types of government, especially around communism and socialism.
No conclusion other than the fact that this is a socialist communist government in play and they have an agenda. It's not our agenda in New Zealand.
So Billy will make accusations that current political parties are either socialist, communist. Now, the thing is that both of those ideologies are entirely different political ideologies altogether. Now, in communism, it's an ideology that was written by a German character called Karl Marx, and he wrote a book called The Communist Manifesto in Germany. He later moved on to Britain. It was actually written around about the time of the signing of the Treaty of Waitangi. Now, under communism, the state owns real estate and everyone works for the state. They're trying to create a system of social ownership of real estate and in an egalitarian society. Now, it's actually really quite similar to the system of hapu and whānau combined ownership within Te Ao Māori when we had prior to colonisation. In socialism, this is an entirely different ideology from communism. Well, Aotearoa New Zealand has always been a socialist nation since about World War II, so Billy's entire life. Now, under a socialist government, they offer things like state housing, free healthcare, a pension, social welfare. So it's not kind of this totalitarian society that Billy portrays socialism to be. It's actually an entire different ideology from communism altogether. Now, what Billy is trying to do here is he's trying to create a condition of fear amongst his followers that there is this sinister communist takeover and we're going to end up in a dystopian society where he is the only one that can free us from this evil that's taking over our nation in Agenda 21. When in reality, here in Aotearoa New Zealand, we actually live in probably one of the best democracies in the world. The current government, they are not communists. They're actually what you call social democrats. So they believe in socialist policies like social welfare, state housing, but they're also democrats, and so they believe that we want to live in a democratic society.
And that's not democracy, that's manipulation, and that's communism. I'm sorry, there's no other way to put it. And these guys who say to me that that's not communism, if you're thinking about say it, go and study communism. Go and study it. Go and find out what it does and how it behaves, and you'll find out that communism and socialism is through everything in our country right now.
This is one of the things that Billy does, is he says to you, oh, you need to go out and research about communism. You need to go and read about it. Do your own research. Well, it's the 21st century. No one has got any time to sit down and read the Communist Manifesto by Karl Marx. I mean, that would take days to read. So he's relying on his followers to not actually do any research. So he becomes the only source of information on some of the political ideologies he's talking about. And I can tell you now, he's wrong. The stuff he's talking about is a load of crap. He also does this with Agenda 21. He's expecting the viewer to go out and start to read a massive big binder full of hundreds of pages on Agenda 21 and then try and pull out of it that it's some kind of evil communist takeover. It's not. And no one's got any time to go read the Communist Manifesto or Agenda 21. So all he's doing is he's spreading misinformation and propaganda on stuff people just don't have the time to go read.
And to all you people out there that haven't studied Agenda 2030, study it, and study it some more, and look for all of the information from various sources. I've even read the information about Agenda 2030 that is positive about it, so that I could understand where they're coming from. And then I've read all of the counter stuff, and then I've done research on my own to come up with my own opinion. And there's no doubt about it, that if they have their way with Agenda 2030, our New Zealand way of life is going to radically change. It will end up destroying the Kiwi way of life.
Now, what Billy's talking about here is a UN agenda called Agenda 21. Now, New Zealand signed up to Agenda 21 during the Bolger government in 1992. This is 28 years ago. Now, what Billy likes to do is he likes to portray it as an evil communist takeover, and he makes up propaganda that it is some kind of loss of our sovereignty, and that one day we're all going to be shipped off to gulags and get exterminated by these evil communists. When in reality, what Agenda 21 is it's a set of non-binding guidelines. So none of this can be enforced anywhere in any court of law. And what it is a set of ideals for nations to try and achieve things like reduce poverty, zero hunger, reduce inequality. Now, what madman in this country wouldn't want to see a society that has zero hunger? Why would you want to stop a policy that tries to reduce hunger? What do you want, have hungry people all around? That's just insane. And so what's happened is Billy's going to some real munted parts of the internet because his algorithm is as munted as him. And he's going and looking at these fascist Nazi conspiracy theories about Agenda 21. And then he's starting to talk about that to his followers. And so here they are, they're thinking, oh my God, these evil communists are coming over to take our sovereignty off us. And all they want to do is steal our freedoms. When in reality, all they want to make sure is no one's hungry. I mean, who wants to be hungry?
Māori Party, they want to sell off water infrastructure to foreign or private sources. That's the beginning of the end if you do that. And I cannot believe that they are so silly to even contemplate something like that.
And they're not contemplating anything like that. Well, do you just pull the stuff out of your ass, Billy, and just go with it? If you were to read their freshwater policy, it's actually quite the opposite. They want Māori to own the water. They actually want to put a moratorium on water bottling. Do you just make stuff up and, oh yeah, we'll just go with that. We'll just make up a pack of lies and I'll say that that's another party's political policy. Bro, what are you doing? And
so, we just have to think about these things and let it churn through our heads, because that's what's coming through.
And the only thing that's churning through my head is everything that Billy says is batshit crazy. And maybe one day Billy might want to sit down and fact check half of the dribble that's coming out of his mouth. Thank you for joining me today. I'm your host, Joe Trinder. Kia ora.